Hey everyone, hope everyone's doing well. First I want to start off with my best of wishes to people who are dealing with a lot of the shit going on right now with the storm, winter storm in places like Texas and just, across the Midwest. Um, you know, Best wishes to those people. If I could help with as much as if I had the resources to help, I would. Um, I'm gonna reach out to at least one friend that I know lives in that area, and it's with all the negative things going on in the world, it seems like it's just getting worse. And I don't want to be a doomer, but it's kind of fucked up. So my best wishes to those people, and I really hope that the government there makes some effort to try and change this, and even moving forward there is some infrastructure change in a place like Texas which would have some sort of safety precaution or some safety measure if we were to run into something like this, even if it's unprecedented. I don't want it to be something similar to COVID where you had the idea and you're aware that it could happen, but you don't do it. It's because it costs too much money. We don't need to, the reality is this leads to lives being lost. This leads to people dying. So there's that. The main thing in this video is I want to post it about being these fake woke niggas. I'm gonna just go on there. So I've posted content in the past, having a realistic perception of the world when it comes to you trying to develop an understanding of something, how it takes, having an idea, then looking at reference points, then checking that reference point to verify the validity of your claim, and then leading a bunch of claims together that lead to an argument where they all flow together, not well to create a bullshit argument, but to make a sound argument. And all these things are true. And when you have these reference points and you have a clear idea of how to come to a conclusion about things in a formal setting and you apply it to the world, this gives you a more realistic perception of reality, where you're able to where you're able to engage in actions that are indicative of, whatever you like. So you don't want to be racist, you don't want to do things that are racist, but you didn't realize they were, but you say that you're a nice person, things like that. It is Black History Month, and as I said before, there are always people who are trying to develop an understanding of things. There are people who are always trying to develop an understanding of the world. With that being said, I know that when I started trying to be more informed about being Black and all that shit, this was a little bit when I was younger. So in terms of that process that I explained earlier, I wasn't really aware of that process. And when I was younger, I made a lot of well put together bad arguments. And after debate with people when I was younger, and then reading and understanding again why these are bad arguments, I stopped paying attention to other information, and I made sure that the reference point I decided, figured out a way to determine if a reference point is something that I'm using to validate my claims are like a valid source or not. I went through all that when I was young. But one thing that I noticed that when I was young, especially being as a Black person, a lot of the more extreme things that happened, like I ran into conflict. When it comes to being informed about being Black, understanding some of your history, understanding how some things may be lost in translation, understanding how there may be difficulty you trying to trace some of your history back, and that, even when it comes to you tracing your history, the value you apply to your history, like, that's relative to the person. Some people don't want to be, some people's identity, it doesn't really include learning about their history, and that's totally fine. I'm one of those people as well, but it's cool to know, right? Because it also gives you an understanding to try and counter other things, like counter some viewpoints where they came out of bad situations where you're trying to develop an understanding of the world. You kind of look lost. There are many negative things happening to you. You're seeing a lot of things online, and you don't have you don't have a clear mindset or a clear framework for rationalizing your perception of reality. When I was younger, I did believe, like, hey, like, Black people, we're the greatest, right? We have some cosmic shit going on. We got, And, you know, some of that ethnocentrism turned into some quasi-race realism. You know, everyone who's under you or everyone who's been made after you is a mutation, you know, because, you know, that's a negative connotation, and you're applying the idea that it's something that should have never occurred and it's inherently bad, you know. I started with that, and then, you know, I started learning up, you know, and this also included religion, and then, you know, some of these things also included racial conservatism. I mean, social conservatism, where like, in order to love the entire black family or to love yourself, you know, you'd have to not date people outside your race. I went through all of that when I was young. And when did I and how did I go through this journey where I was fucking myself up? It was from YouTube. It was from YouTube. It was from people who I thought were informed. It was from people who would give me certain sources that validated their claims. But when it came to a reference point that would be able to validate that person's claims on YouTube, they were incorrect. Based off of how the person presented the argument to me, how confident they were, their rhetorical skills, many people in the past who were part of these woke crowds, and, you know, and while I was watching Hidden Colors, and even some of the shit on Hidden Colors, many of the things on Hidden Colors are bullshit. I don't even remember what other shit's on it now. But if I hear it now, when somebody brings it up, I'd be able to counter many things. And I was getting so enamored at the idea that I'm learning new information that it led to some positions that I didn't have before being pushed away, because the value that I placed on the new information that I was getting, I was under the impression that all of that was right. So let me give an example. I thought that I was superior to white people, right? Like, they're a mutation. You kind of feel bad for them. You kind of see that part of the idea that you kind of get from these ethnocentric ideas, it happens with white nationalism as well. It happens with all groups. It's like, hey, we're the greats. These people are lower than us, and the reason why they hate us so much is because we're so great. So you should put confidence in yourself that you're so great. And what that does is, and what that was doing was, that was setting up a power dynamic. Like, it'd be the equivalent of, like, imagine any of those movies where it's like, oh, I'm like a hidden god, and like, I lost my powers a bit, and it's because of the evil forces, and in order for me to unlock my mega power, you know, I need some help from the people who said they would protect me in the past, or like some of my old people who don't have as much power as I do. And in many of these movies, my idea was, my thought was like, nigga, if you were a god and niggas tore you down, isn't that indicative of them being kind of stronger than you? But, you know, that was, you know, these were lines of thinking that I kind of just kept throwing away, like, because the information that I was taking in that I valued based off the incomplete, unsound argument, the well put together bad arguments that I was so open to, some of the conservative beliefs racially that I had that never existed because I was raised in an environment where mostly like white people, and I kind of had many white friends. It led to some of those views, me actually taking in some of those views. When I initially started, I didn't agree with a person's mind, people's information initially. So what happened? I went deeper down the hole. I stopped believing that, you know, white people or all groups of people are equal, you know, and I started, you know, racial and social conservatism became a little bit stronger. But what happened is I had to keep testing myself, and I had to start doing more research from the YouTube videos online outside of like what a person would link to me on YouTube. And what that helped me do is, damn, some of this shit is incorrect. Oh, some of this shit is not an accurate interpretation of what's going on. Oh, damn, some of these things are cherry picked. Like, this is not giving the whole context of that. So, when I was younger, when I was going through this, and this was like in my teens, it became real to me. It became real to me that if something resonated with me so much, I was willing to take in all of that person's information, and I wasn't parsing like the bullshit from the real shit. This is what YouTube is flooded with right now. It has a lot of those people, right? It has a lot of those woke niggas. It has niggas like King Pharoah. It has people like Hassan Campbell. I don't want to put Hassan Campbell in the same I don't want to put him in the same like box, because he's not necessarily the same as like that King Pharoah dude. Just because of the fact that Hassan Campbell doesn't really, like, he does more gossip things than he talks about it, but like he does talk about some dumb Illuminati shit. That's just not true. I don't know if that's fucking, I don't even know if that, niggas always on some weird shit like that, you know? Some of the more extreme, like body snatchers or Illuminati or some secret government force for control order to fucking lower the fucking quality of humanity, like that, these types of people, these people exist online. And how do they, Hassan isn't the main one. I'm not gonna say it because he says a lot of like, you know, good things, but again, I'm able to do it where I'm able to parse the incorrect information as opposed to the accurate shit, to where I know that I can gain utility out of some shit that he says. Well, not gain, I mean, it's something I agree with, and I can, you know, and I can engage with the idea and like be able to counter it and tell which parts I disagree with and have consistency of my beliefs, and then point out some of the consistencies in his framework with some of the things that he's thrown out, because it's a well put together bad argument. So you're trying to verify the framework, the premises in his framework. He's not the main, and I'm able to do it, but most people can't. And what is going to happen, and what's been happening within the black community when it comes to them making an effort to try and understand themselves, they become so focused on the idea that they're the victim and they're the ones, and we are the most oppressed people, but the frameworks, the reasons to justify it are things that are just not even true.